Lanxess HSEQ policy for employee health and safety, process safety, security, environmental protection, and quality are core values of Lanxess Corporation. You can find it in the control room, maintenance shop, and posted throughout the plant.
Welcome to Lanxess Greensboro facility. Lanxess Greensboro is a manufacturer of plasticizers and flame retardants. Lanxess's #1 concern is the safety of its employees and guests. At the end of this video, you will have a clear knowledge of all plant regulations and procedures. All visitors must use the main entrance to enter the plant at all times. Lanxess wants your visit to be safe, rewarding, and productive. At the end of this video, you'll be issued a card. The card must be with you at all times during your visit at our facility. The issued card is good for the Greensboro facility only. Lanxess handles a variety of chemicals and products. Safety data sheets for these materials are available at your request. When touring the production area, proper PPE must be worn at all times. Hard hat, glasses with side shields, long sleeve shirts, and steel-toed shoes. Your guide will request access for the tour from the site management or shift supervisors. You must stay with your guide while touring the site. Observe all signs posted throughout the plant. There are 3 alarms all visitors need to be aware of: fire, spill, and rupture disc alarm. If you hear any of these alarms, stay with your guide and follow their instructions. If evacuation is required, the assembly point is Gate 1. Firearms, cameras, non-company issued cell phones, drugs, and alcohol are not permitted on the plant. Lanxess has 24-hour surveillance with a guard at the main entrance. Remember, Lanxess's #1 concern is a safe environment for our employees and visitors. We hope your visit is safe, enjoyable, and productive.
Welcome to the Lanxess Ryan Chemie Contractor Safety Orientation. The Contractor Handbook should be presented when this video is completed. Each of these topics is covered in the Site Safety Rules booklet. This orientation is designed to introduce our guests to the safety policies and rules that apply to the entire site. In addition, you are expected to be aware of the hazards and precautions unique to the Lanxess Ryan Chemie's facility and to comply with Lanxess Ryan Chemie's safety policies and work rules. This orientation focuses on safe work rules, hazards, and precautions for the Greensboro, North Carolina site. All contractors working at the Lanxess Ryan Chemie facility must sign in at the main guard shack. Contractors must sign in before entering the work area and sign out upon completing the work or leaving the area, even for break or lunch. It is strictly forbidden to enter any work area without signing in. Contractor responsibilities. While working at Lanxess Ryan Chemie Greensboro, contractors will be expected to comply with OSHA standards, comply with all safety rules and policies, recognize hazards you may be exposed to, and use work methods to minimize risk to you, co-workers, and others to perform your job safely. If you have any questions at any time about site conditions, hazards, safety concerns, or your job tasks, ask your Lanxess Ryan Chemie site representative or your supervisor. Contractors must comply with clothing and safety equipment requirements for our facility at all times. Expect to be asked to wear additional PPE for certain tasks. Signs. Here at our Greensboro facility, you will see signs throughout the plant to convey our safety messages. Please observe signs in your area for additional safety guidance. Remember, safety is our first and main concern. Cell phone policy. Cell phones are not permitted anywhere in the Lanxess Ryan Chemie facility. Pagers and other electronic devices are not permitted unless they meet area electrical classification standards. Consult your Lanxess Ryan Chemie representative for details. Hazardous chemicals found on Lanxess Ryan Chemie site. While working at Lanxess Ryan Chemie, you need to be aware of various hazardous materials and chemicals used across the facility and take precautions to avoid contact with them. Hazardous materials at our site include acids, such as phosphoric acid and sulfuric acid, which are corrosive to the skin and body parts upon contact. Bases, such as sodium hydroxide, sodium carbonate, and bicarbonate of soda, must also be avoided because they are corrosive and irritating to the skin, eyes, nose, and throat. Amines, like ammonia, such as cyclohexylamine, can be toxic if ingested or absorbed. Corrosives, such as sodium hypochlorite and others, also irritate the skin, eyes, nose, and throat upon contact. Avoid exposure to all of these chemicals at all times. Solvents, for example, toluene, acetone, and methanol, can be toxic if ingested, inhaled, or absorbed. Solvents are also highly flammable. Liquefied gases such as hydrogen, carbon dioxide, and ammonia are also flammable, explosive, and toxic when inhaled. These liquid gases may also freeze on contact with skin. Avoid all contact and avoid open flame and ignition sources around these chemicals. Poisonous liquids like benzoyl chloride can be toxic when inhaled, ingested, or absorbed. Inert gases, sometimes used to blanket equipment, pose a breathing hazard if inhaled in high concentrations. Nitrogen, helium, and carbon dioxide are examples of asphyxiants. Ensure adequate oxygen levels and avoid exposure and overexposure to these types of gases, especially when working in confined spaces. Oxidizers, such as sodium hypochlorite and hydrogen peroxide, are in use at Lanxess Rhein-Chemie. They are corrosives and an irritant to the skin, eyes, nose, and throat. Powder chemicals, such as citric acid, sebacic acid, or adipic acid, are in powder form and normally dusty. They may be toxic if inhaled, ingested, or absorbed. Flammable solvents like toluene, acetone, and methanol can be toxic if ingested, inhaled, or absorbed. Asphyxiant gases deprive the body of adequate oxygen to sustain life. Ensure adequate oxygen levels and avoid exposure and overexposure to these types of gases, especially when working in confined spaces. If you want to know more about chemicals used at the Lanxess Rhein-Chemie facility or details about hazards, precautions, handling, etc., please contact your Lanxess Rhein-Chemie representative or consult MSDS information on the chemicals in the mailbox by Gate 1, in the control room, inside of the laboratory, or at Lanxess's home website. Permits. To help prevent exposure to material and chemical hazards on the Lanxess Rhein-Chemie site, we have established administrative controls that regulate all the work we do. All the work in the Lanxess Rhein-Chemie facility requires a safe work permit obtained in collaboration with the designated Lanxess Rhein-Chemie representative. It is strictly forbidden to start any work without a signed work permit. Permits must be posted at the job site in a readily visible location. Always check the work permit for the minimum protection requirements for your particular job. After the work is complete, permits must be returned to the office where they were issued. Work rules. Special conditions at Lanxess Rhein-Chemie requires contractors to use additional safety measures surveyed here. Before starting any job, know the locations of all safety equipment such as eye wash stations and safety showers, and make sure they are in working order. Also note the location of the nearest stairways and exit and ensure the pathway remains clear. Spills caused by contractors must be cleaned up and material disposed of properly by the contractor. Additional fire protection is required when doing hot work. This includes extinguishers, water hoses, and fire watches. Consult your hot work permit for all required equipment. Fire extinguishers are posted throughout the facility and are for emergency use only. If you use a fire extinguisher, please be sure to tell your Lanxess Rhein-Chemie representative. Smoking is prohibited in the entire plant except for designated places. The Lanxess Rhein-Chemie smoking area is behind Gate 2 between buildings A and B. When required, gloves suitable for the work performed must be worn. To ensure proper selection of gloves to match the work, consult your supervisor or Greensboro Lanxess Ryan Kimmy host. Selection of proper PPE is a critical part of planning for the job. If your work requires other specialized PPE, such as fall protection, you must be trained in the proper use, care, inspection, and storage before using it. All accidents and incidents, including near misses, must be reported immediately to your Lanxess Ryan Kimmy representative. Emergency response. Lanxess Ryan Kimmy has an emergency response plan for managing our actions in the event of a site emergency or chemical release. Evacuation drawings showing the nearest exit routes are posted throughout the plant. If you hear the Lanxess Ryan Kimmy building emergency alarm, secure your equipment if you can safely do so, power down equipment, and extinguish ignition sources. Then evacuate the building and report to the assembly area. Note the windsock locations on the roof as they indicate wind direction in the event of a chemical release. The Lanxess Ryan Kimmy unit assembly point is by the orange mailbox at Gate 1. Gates will open if fire alarm pull station is activated. Please do not leave and ensure you were accounted for to prevent any searching. If a spill of any kind occurs, leave the area immediately and notify any building personnel present so corrective actions can be taken. Do not re-enter the area until cleared to do so by Lanxess Ryan Kimmy supervision. Protection and prevention. Hearing protection must be worn at all times in the designated areas on the Lanxess Ryan Kimmy site. These areas include the grinding area, the air mill, the centrifuge, and when operating the dryer. Full body harnesses must be worn when fall hazards exist. If a wire rope lanyard is used, a deceleration device is also required. Lanyards must be tied off as short as possible above the worker, but still allow free movement. Fall protection harnesses must be removed prior to operating any motorized vehicle unless operating the vehicle requires it to be worn. Ladders used for electrical work must be made of non-conducting material such as fiberglass. All ladders are to be tied off at top or held steady when in use. All ladders must be routinely inspected with inspection status readily identifiable on the ladder. Whenever outside servicing personnel are to be engaged in activities covered by the scope and application of the OSHA Control of Hazardous Energy standard, the FCC, GSO, and the contractor representatives shall inform each other of their respective lockout or tagout procedures and shall make sure that all affected employees understand how the lockout tagout will be done. The exchange of this information shall be documented on a sign-off sheet in the contractor information package. The site plant engineer or HSEQ coordinator shall be notified of all confined space entries prior to their occurrence, and all completed confined space SWPs or site work permits shall be returned to the plant engineer for review and filing. All deficiencies should be discussed with the SWP issuer and noted. A safe work permit is required before opening any line or disconnecting equipment. Before disconnecting equipment, in order to protect employees, consideration shall be given to physical hazards, such as pressure or heat, as well as to chemical hazards. All work must be approved by plant management. Permits are required when digging deeper than 4 feet. Excavations of 5 feet and deeper require mandatory protection systems before entering. For additional information, consult your representative. Properly labeled OSHA-approved safety cabinets and cans shall be used to store and dispense flammable liquids and must have prior approval. When transferring flammable chemicals, they should be grounded and bonded. Gasoline-powered tools or equipment are not permitted inside buildings. When moving gas cylinders, they shall be secured upright with a material that is non-combustible. All cylinders must be shut off and capped when not in use. Oxygen and fuel gas must be kept 20 feet apart or divided by a 1-hour rated 5-foot high wall. Chemical spills must be reported immediately to your representative and or site security by radio or in person. Clean up only if qualified and authorized to do so. Any liquid from a vehicle other than tailpipe and air conditioner condensate shall be reported. Contain the leak and prevent it from reaching any culvert, ditch, or drain. The contractor is responsible for coordinating with your site contact the handling and disposal of spilled, unused, residual, or unwanted chemicals. Never discharge chemicals into the sewer. Steam, condensate, and hot water are present in many areas of the plant and can cause mild to severe burns. Special PPE may be required if you are working around or with steam, condensate, and hot water sources. Nitrogen is one example of an asphyxiant gas used on a Lanxess Rhein-Chemie site. Nitrogen gas is a colorless, odorless, and tasteless gas that makes up 78% of the air around us. It is used throughout the site for purging vessels and padding systems to prevent fire or explosion hazards. Nitrogen is extremely cold in either a liquid or gaseous state. Contact can result in severe frostbite. If you are exposed to nitrogen, use warm water to warm the contacted area. Nitrogen can displace air, thereby reducing available oxygen. Even limited exposure can cause death by asphyxiation. The oxygen level in the atmosphere is normally 21%. If it is less than or equal to 19.5%, the atmosphere is considered immediately dangerous to life and health and should not be entered. In the event of a spill, it is the responsibility of the contractor to contain the spill and report it immediately. The contractor is also responsible for spill cleanup and material disposal. Thank you for participating in this orientation training. Our goal is to provide you with the information you need to stay safe while on site. A site safety handbook is available for all contractors. Please review with your immediate supervisor. We look forward to working with you. We know that complying with our safety standards will help protect you and everyone here from harm.